Great gun guy is going to ask you to take compared to everything, we are paying $2,000 a month. We got the
So you guys are great.
You're wrong. Yeah.
That was good.
May have to make some more.
I would get our pharmacy bill. Good morning. And the bus. The bus runs back to she is coming. Last week we had a soccer game. How are you doing? Go on. That's good. Yeah, I've been horizontal for a few days.
Good morning.
Want help you? Want me to take your code?
Good morning. Welcome to the Auburn Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, located on occupied ancestral land of Muskogee Nation and housed in a building constructed by free, formerly enslaved African Americans. My name is Norika Oy, and I'm your service associate today. Our mission is to be a welcoming and a caring community dedicated to challenging the mind, nurturing the spirit, and transforming the world through the pursuit of truth, love, and justice. On behalf of the members of the fellowship, I extend a special welcome to all visitors who are joining us for the first time, and in those who still feel like visitors. If you haven't yet, please fill out our visitor book at the front of the congregation near the greeters. Or you may do so digitally by visiting auuf.org visitor. To keep up with the activities of the community, check the AUUF website Sign up for our email and watch for any announcement printed on the back of the order of the service. We also allocate time for brief spoken announcement at the end of the service. Please turn your phone and other electronic devices to silent. Let us move into the service. Let us begin. These words from the Taittiriya Upanishad. From food, all creatures are produced, and all creatures that dwell on earth, by food they live, and into food they finally pass. Food is the chief among beings. Anybody ringing the bell? Sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Lorna. The title of the song was Whiskey Before Breakfast. All right. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with the joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and a meaning and celebration of the life we share together. As is our tradition, we also light a candle in solidarity with those families separated at our southern border. Please rise and you are willing and able for our opening hymn. Here we have gathered, number 360 in our great hymnal.
Side by side, circle of
One of the ways that we proclaim the worth and the caring of our community is by sharing our joys, concerns, and milestones. If you are joining us virtually, we invite you to type your joy, concern, or milestone in the YouTube chat box during the music for meditation. We begin with the silent joys and concerns and invite those here to, one at a time, drop a pebble into our communal bowl during the music for meditation. Spoken joys and concerns will be invited following the musical meditation. Thank you, Lorna. If you have a joy, concern, or milestone that you would like to share with the congregation, I invite you to come forward briefly, share it using the microphone. Please do not line up closely. Come forward after the last person has left the microphone.
I have a concern. People keep leaving their water bottles here. But I see they seem to have been collected. Yay! We also have concern because there's like a lot of lost and found stuff in the lost and found box at the back, and I put all the umbrellas out on the table, and there are a lot of books back there. I don't know where they all came from, but some came from the lost and found. If they're yours, please collect them because we'd like to get them out of here before the auction starts. Thanks.
I have a concern. I forgot all about potluck. I hate sponges. We didn't have that up in New Hampshire, and I just forgot about it. So, but I have a joy. I have some photographs to show you. My son Craig and his life partner Sue went to a wedding in, can you hear me? Yes. In India. And they spent 4 days in Switzerland on the way, and they had to go to some little shop near some. Well, they live in Michigan. They had to go to a little shop somewhere to buy the appropriate clothing, and they said they said it was just incredible, absolutely incredible. But there was a canopy, and the bride wore red, and there's a photograph of that, and this, he and Sue, and the only thing that I was disappointed, he didn't photograph the groom on a horse. The groom rode a horse up to the canopy, and he didn't photograph that. But, he said it was just incredible. It was I don't know how many hops on the way home, on the plane. But they were in the air 14 and a half hours. I don't know how many time zones they went through, but he said it was incredible, that they was glad to, but they were very happy to get home. And I'm just so happy they had this experience, and happy that Craig met Sue, and yada, yada, yada. But, so anyway, I'm sorry about not bringing anything for potluck, but maybe what I'll do is I'll take some of those oranges and juggle them. We all can do it. Why don't we all do it? Okay, I guess that's it. But look at the photographs. Okay, they're really fantastic.
Well, I can't match that. My name's Sally, Gray, Wilson, whatever. I have an amazing 19-year-old granddaughter named Olivia, who goes to Springfield College in Massachusetts, and she's the only freshman on the Springfield College volleyball team. And she's 5'10", willowy, really athletic, has a great attitude. And I got a chance to watch her in the semifinals yesterday, which they won, and the finals are today. And if they win today, they get to go to California. So, so she's amazing. I love her to death.
Hey. Hi, everybody. So yesterday was the Bot Trot, which is a Mexico robotics competition, and it was over at the Coliseum. AUF was well represented. We saw Gabriel there, and let's see, who else was there? Arthur and Damon, and then Evie was there, and Evie's team won the Judges Award for Communication, Persistence, and Creative Bot Design. I was going to say this, but she composed and read a poem at her school's Veterans Day celebration on Thursday, and I got to see the video, and she was incredibly poised and just like was able to speak very well, so I'm proud of you.
Reverend Mariko, everybody. I'm looking at Reverend Darcy on the loss of her Aunt Karen this past week. And she's doing her Aunt Mary best, so keep them in mind in your prayers. I think Reverend Darcy said that she was going to be coming back from where she had been today. But still keep her in her thoughts and prayers. I told many of y'all last week about the situation I'm in. Some I explained in detail, and some I just said up here. I'm seriously thinking about leaving it. And in the last communications in the text, the person talked about me joining their quote unquote spiritual family. In the text that I sent back, I said I already have a spiritual family here in Auburn. And it dawned on me that I do, and y'all are part of it. And so that's a joy. And as you can tell by my cap, another obvious joy. Georgia won last night and won big. It's in Auburn, you may have noticed. Georgia beat Alabama after all. Thank you.
So the joys, concerns, and sorrows are just as they should be. Joy about all kinds of things and affirmation. So I want you to take a little bit of a breath because I'm going to shift gears as I'm sharing what you agree is a profound sorrow. So I've been working the last month with some of my Jewish colleagues in Unitarian Universalism and now others to try to fashion a statement in response to what is happening in the Middle East. I don't have one for you yet. There isn't one. I'm going to share the statement by the United Methodist Church bishops because I think they've done an amazing job, and I hope that we adopt some of the same language. And I hope this doesn't trigger anybody, but I think we need to deal with it. The United Methodist Church Council of Bishops, along with millions of people across the globe, are weeping and praying for the people of the Holy Land. We decry the October 7, 2023 attack by Hamas and the continuing loss of life of Israelis and Palestinians, including thousands of children. We value all life. We encourage every effort towards a peaceful solution. We call for the release of hostages and the stopping killing to stop. We call for immediate allowance of unrestricted humanitarian assistance. We denounce acts of and the proliferation of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and hate crimes that may begin with words and often turn to violence directed towards persons whose race, ethnicity, and religion are disparaged. We cannot stand by while children are dying, and we cannot abandon the way of peace.
Thank you to all who shared their joys, concerns, and milestones this morning. May all the joys and concerns and milestones of this community, those shared aloud and those held in silence, be received into the care and concern of all present. The light of a chalice would soon flicker and die without the oil that nourishes its flame. Just as this flame cannot burn without oil, this religious community cannot survive or thrive without the personal and the financial support of its members and friends. This fuels that shared mission and the ministry of the Auburn UU Fellowship. To make a donation online via PayPal, please visit auf.org/donate. Please indicate in the notes whether your donation is for your pledge or the offering. If you're writing a check, please make your check payable to AUUF with a note on the memo line about whether it is for the offering or your pledge, or drop it in the offering bowl or mail it to P.O. Box 669, Auburn, Alabama 36831. Let us now give freely and generously to sustain and strengthen our shared religious community, a community of memory, hope, faith, and love. For we are now the keepers of its flame that burns for justice, its dream of beloved community, its vision of a world made whole.
Is it what we're waiting for? If we live to let it go, all we ever get is through. Every day we say a prayer, we always raise a bit of there, so we get the same old through. There's not a crust, not a crumb, can we find, can we beg, can we borrow more cash? But there's nothing to stop us from getting when we all
Our moment for all ages today is from the book Thanksgiving Rules by Lori Friedman, illustrated by Teresa Morfin. And Herbert Denmark is our storyteller today.
Y'all may come up, please. Those of you that want to sit with me. Have a sit down.
Can you hear me? Yeah. We'll give you a few more minutes. Now, Reverend, everybody, now, y'all, we will learn about some Thanksgiving rules. You ready to hear this? And the person who's going to explain it is someone named Percy Isaac Gifford. There he is. And this is what he said. Soon it'll be Thanksgiving Day. Well, every day's Thanksgiving Day, really. This is my empty stomach. He's showing his empty stomach. And the buffet is on the other side of that picture. That's the buffet. This is the buffet. Next slide, please. And here's a little secret he said. I'm a Thanksgiving pro. Wow. When it comes to Turkey Day, there's nothing I don't know. I get the most of my holiday. I promise you can too. Just follow my simple rules. That's all you have to do. Hey, let me see. Now, the first thing you must know, moms, first of all, like the set of food. They like to control everything from your clothing to the food. That's true. So wear whatever you have to from your head down to your feet. But remember, the sooner you get dressed, the sooner you eat, which leads to rule number 1. Before you eat, you smile and say pumpkin pie. Now, can you do that now? Can you smile and say pumpkin pie? Pumpkin pie. Next slide. Oh, you already have it. Next, you have to get golf. Now, Dad, there's Dad, likes when I volunteer. He says seeing me help out fills his heart with cheer. Which leads to rule number 2. Eat, drink, but first, clean. Now, I know it's no fun to sweep or clean or peel 3 minutes of that, but trust me when I tell you, it's the fastest way to the meal. Now, after you're done cleaning, I'm sure you'll want to eat, but you can't do that just yet. First, you have to greet. Ding dong, the bell's ringing. Which leads to rule number 3. See down there? Short equals sweet. That means that when family or friends arrive, you have to be polite. But here's a helpful tip. It doesn't have to take all night. Now I'm talking about an art form I call the quick hello. Hello, y'all. Just a simple friendly greeting. And then you're good to go. Hi, y'all. First, he was greeting everybody. Well, he was nice, isn't he? The place you should be heading is what I call the main event. It's best to get there early, for directions follow the set. It's rule number 4. The early bird gets the turkey. Now, please take a moment to savor this part of your day. For my friend, you have arrived at the Thanksgiving buffet. Ooh, check it out. Now, here's where I can be most helpful. Percy says, it's time to fill your plate. That's hopefully what y'all will be doing later today. Remember, the round thing in your hand can hold a lot of weight. So start with piles of turkey. It's best when nice and hot. Then pour on a little gravy. Better yet, he says, pour on a lot. Now from there, you'll want to add a little something on the side. This part can be tricky. Now stick with me and I'll be your guide. First, on figure 1, take the sweet potatoes. Trust me, he says, they taste good. Then don't be afraid of stuffing. Figure number 2, even though it looks like wood. Then definitely try the green beans, figure number 3. And for color, figure number 4, add the cranberry sauce. And if you don't eat all of these, it will be your loss. This leads to rule number 6. Don't be afraid to eat everything. And now the time has come to issue my Thanksgiving decree. And there it is. Now, he commands you to eat everything you see, well, most everything you see, and don't be afraid to say, I'll have lots more, please. Make sure you stay please. Your plate should now be close to full, so hopefully there are holes. Now here's his advice. Plug them up with piles of dinner rolls, which brings to rule number 7 of Thanksgiving rules. Don't stop or drop. Just take some rolls. Now, my friend, you've now got what you need. So now, go find a place to sit. It's time to gobble up your dinner and eat every single bit. Eat till your plate is squeaky clean. Okay, I'll remember that. Then go back for more. The second time around is something I adore. Percy adores too. Leads to rule number 8. The second time is the charm. Okay? And now for the finale. It's time for the dessert. Sampling some of everything really cannot hurt. You should try each type of pie as he's doing. Eat every tart or cake, wow, so that you appreciate every one of those 3 and others who tried to bake it. We should do that later today with Papa. And while we're on the subject, appreciation is a big deal. Today and every day is a day to show you're thankful, and not just for the meal. You notice Mama and Daddy are sleeping. It's a day to show your loved ones just what they mean to you. So before Thanksgiving is over, there's something I like to do. I give everyone around me their own Thanksgiving hug. I call it a Percy Isaac special, which means it's big and snug. Leads to Thanksgiving rule number 10. A hug makes the heart grow fonder. And I got one of those last week myself, and that's true. Almost everyone seems to like it. They almost always say how nice. But I admit that over the years I've been given some advice. Once or twice it's been suggested that I modify my technique. He's modifying his technique. Now I provide the Overeater Special, a simple light peck on the cheek. And those are the Thanksgiving rules.
May your words bring truth into the world. May your heart show love and your hands do justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Today's reading is titled How We Eat, written by Mark David. What nourishes? What is in that truly feeds us and provides the satisfaction we seek? We believe that good nourishment nourishes us, and it does. Yet, it is easy to lose sight of all that nourishes and focus on the nutrition alone. The question of what nourishes us is often difficult to answer because our dietary notions change constantly. What we thought was good to eat yesterday is not always what we think is good today. Most nutritional assertions that originate from authoritative sources have a brief shelf life. Our nutritional information is not based on what is ultimately good to eat, but what we believe is good to eat at the time. Within this unstable state of affairs, one thing is constant: the connection between our relationship to food and our inner world. The more we are aware of these connections, the greater the potential for a personal and inner satisfaction. For in changing the way we eat, we change the way we live. By focusing attention while eating, we listen to focus attention on any situation. By enjoying food, we begin to enjoy nourishment in any form. And by eating with dignity, we learn to live with dignity.
Thank you. So before launching into talking about food as sacrament, as to food as a moral and environmental issue, interconnected with so many other pressing issues of our time, I want to share this short story of food hospitality in my own family, which is about as far from being dignified as I can possibly imagine. Not so much the matter of precisely how to choose and place dishes and utensils on a table, me the queen of mismatched plates and tarnished silver, but the matter of how breaking bread together, sharing food during a meal, plays such a huge role in our coming together as families and friends, as a religious communities, how they can make us feel warm and special and enriched and included, or make us feel shunned, ignored, shamed, and excluded, and how much the stuff of our memories these meals, these occasions are. So take my family, please. In my family of origin, we have the ham story that has been stayed in circulation for going on more than 30 years now. How my sister-in-law, my twin brother's wife, complained to my mother about her choice of a main dish for a family dinner, a faux pas that caused them to never speak again. My mother, truly, this is true, My mother, you see, was not the world's best cook, having burnt many a toast slice, undercooked many a frozen vegetable, forgotten to warm up many a casserole dish, but she loved to buy a honey-baked ham. One of those fancy and costly ones from a franchise store. This for her was the height of extravagance, dietary extravagance, and culinary opulence. On this occasion, my sister-in-law, having already angered my mother and frankly many of the rest of us when she showed up an hour late, or maybe it was 2, I can't remember, commented right before we were all ready to sit down, "Another ham? This is the 3rd one we've had this week." Oh, the daggered stares, the quivering lips, the barely contained disbelief, the suppressed rage, the months and now years of replaying that remark at every other family dinner. There have been other holidays and holy days and other meals where one or another sibling, grandchild, or in-law has crossed the line, you know what I mean, crossed the line, but none has surpassed the ham dinner for gossip and outrage. So food and faith, what I like to call how we cook our lives. Food and faith, faith and food. Environmentalist Michael Schutt has written that it was not accidental that in the New Testament Jesus chose a meal for the setting and bread and wine as symbols for what has become the most central of sacraments in our Christian tradition, which is communion. And beyond the formal sacraments, baptism, confirmation, ordination, and marriage, he reminds us that there are informal sacramental moments in everyday life, in every religious culture. Things like watching someone be born, things like making love, things like having a meal with the people that you love, across religious traditions, sacraments. In his collections of writings, Food and Faith, he recalls his own sacramental relationship to tomatoes. Growing up in southern Minnesota, which he describes as prime tomato-growing country, with that wonderful combination of summer heat, humidity, and rich soil that each year turns little seeds into the richest of fare, he writes. The occasion of harvesting that very first Minnesota tomato, he says, was a significant calendar marker in his family, up there with birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. The farm where these tomatoes were planted, nurtured, and plucked, then shared on a communal plate was, and is, still a place of pilgrimage for him. Maybe you'd like to think, are there places of pilgrimage for you that surround food? For my husband, it's any slice of pizza in New York City. He writes the garden underfoot, the aroma of my mother's cooking, the colors and the taste. He experiences food as celebration, adding joy to life and nurturing gratitude and nurturing thanksgiving. Receiving the gift of our daily bread, he observed, can remind us of the miracles of sun and water and seed and soil and air, our holy interdependence. But he also sees food, the way most of us experience food, as being sometimes disconnecting and even dangerous. The division he observes between the food we eat, how they are grown and produced, and the knowledge of how these foods not only impact our own health, but the health of the entire world. If food can be a sacrament, the farm-fresh tomato dripping with juice, it can also be the cause of individual ill health and environmental degradation. Writer Wendell Berry declared, how we eat determines to a considerable extent how the world is used. How the world is used. The accuracy of this statement, we are told, was corroborated in a landmark book that came out so many years ago now, it's kind of sad, The Consumer Guide to Effective Environmental Choices. What choices might consumers make, the book proposed, that really would make a difference to the environmental health of this planet? That was, as I said, decades ago, the call for a food revolution, for a significant cultural shakeup in the way that we grow and raise and produce and purchase, cook and serve our food, the call to unhook from the industrial farming pipeline, to return perhaps to a simpler time of more responsible growing and more balanced and conscious eating.
A call, hopefully, however, not to return to some blurred sepia picture of what it was like to eat and drink, and what is sometimes called the golden age in this country, which is sometimes portrayed as one overflowing cornucopia of harvest, a gigantic culinary groaning board that was actually only available to a small minority of Americans. In reality, most people historically were forced to subsist on a crude and scanty diet of rice or bread, supplemented now and then by a soup or a stew of questionable origin, shopping for their dinners at second-hand food markets where they selected from leftover groceries and the trimmings and bones from butcher shops, with a lack of hygienic standards from street vendors to corner grocers, allowing food to be sold that today would be simply considered unfit for human consumption, when even for rural Americans their diet was mostly monotonous and often far, far from healthful. So rather than looking falsely backwards at this golden age of eating that never existed, there have been prophets who looked forward, like Chef Alice Waters. How many of you know Alice Waters? Some of you. Then 27 years old, a 27-year-old dreamer and environmental activist who opened Chez Panisse in Berkeley, California in 1971 as an option to what was already being labeled fast food nation. Flocked to by foodies all over the world, she based her menus on what was grown or raised nearby. It is still almost impossible, all those years later, to get a reservation at Chez Panisse. You have to do it well in advance, and you're lucky if you can even get into the cafe part, which in itself is glorious and expensive, rather than the restaurant upstairs. Both of them are still major foodie destinations. Expanding from that incredibly successful enterprise, she launched the Edible Schoolyard. The Edible Schoolyard, an organization dedicated, she announced, to transforming our children's relationship to food through the public school system, offering healthy alternatives to what has been standard canned and processed cafeteria fare, exposing kids also to the labor and love of tilling their own soil and planting their own seeds in the playgrounds of these schools where they were actually being fed decent food. Is she a food saint, as some have called her, or an unreasonable culinary moralist? A scolder of those of us who don't meet her standards. Which one? Reading about Alice Waters and her passion for whole food and local, fresh, organic choices, I admit, made me then and still makes me feel retroactively very guilty. You see, I was a mother. Actually, I was a single mother of 2 young children when she was raising her own daughter on farm, fresh, poached eggs and organic juices, making her plea for this way of feeding and eating when I was living in the same town, albeit in the fogged-in flats of the same town, shopping at the Lucky Chain supermarket, picking up the cheapest boxes of macaroni and cheddar cheese slices, maybe real cheddar cheese slices I could find, stocking up on Cheerios, cutting up refrigerator stock apples, doling out bargain packaged cookies, stretching our puny food dollars and falling into a pattern of convenience. And I bet none of you ever did that. That was reality for me and my family for a time, and for millions of families now who rightly or wrongly believe that what Alice Waters and others were proposing, their vision of heirloom produce and grass-fed beef and poultry, do not square either with our wallets or with the practicalities of how we actually secure our food. Those who might argue that we cannot afford the alternatives to cheap groceries, and if we could, we wouldn't have access to them anyway. Who need to be respectfully and compassionately convinced of the addictive qualities of fast food eating and the substitute pleasures of learning how to cook our own real food, who need to be supported by merchants selling reasonably priced fresh food in low-income areas, both rural and urban, zoning laws that limit fast food franchises, and encouraging other types of eateries, including farmers markets. Let alone the millions of American children who were already eating marginal diets before the pandemic caused a food scarcity epidemic as well. The food chain problems, the problems keeping basic foods on grocery shelves, food cost inflation, problems that still plague us 3 years later. Food and faith, faith and food, blessed are the poor. Religious organizations throughout the world have discussed the impact of production, distribution, and use of food for many, many years now. Our own 2011 UU Statement of Conscience was ethical eating, food, and environmental justice, which thankfully acknowledged many of the complexities of this issue that I've started to tell you. Some people, they wrote, enjoy many food choices, while others remain consistently hungry. The food industry produces wealth for some big corporate farmers, but for small farmers and farm workers, they're poverty wages. Food production and transportation contribute to many environmental problems. They did 30 years ago, they do more so now. This statement suggested that congregations could develop effective strategies to address two of the world's biggest problems, social inequality and environmental destruction. It's not just about the environment, and it's not just about economics. It is a both and environmental, ecological issue and an issue of profound injustice and profound inequity. This is an issue, we are told, that is in line with our Unitarian Universalist principles and purposes that are still with us until next May. The ones we have now that are being reconsidered are still our purposes and principles. We have a vision of environmental justice. One of our principles affirms justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and another, the interdependent web of all existence, all tied up with food and faith. This was worthy and is still worthy of our deeper study, our discernment, and our action, now as then. So this is one of my pet peeves as someone who's been involved in Unitarian Universalism really my whole life, and certainly in the justice end of most of my life, is that we develop and we pass thoughtful, bold statements of conscience that sit proverbially on the shelf, whether they're on the internet shelf now or on an actual shelf, and that we do not follow up on them in the powerful ways I think that we had hoped. Some of the questions that we asked in that particular statement of conscience are questions I don't think that we profoundly answered, but you can disagree with me. Why is food so important in religion, our religion, and other faiths? What moral guidelines, if any, should govern food production and what we choose to eat, not only at home and out in the world, but in this congregation? How should congregations, this congregation, all congregations, continue to lift up issues like poverty and hunger, nutrition, education, and health promotion? What does it really truly mean when we gather to bless our food, to set a welcome table in our social halls and in our communities? What does it mean figuratively and literally to welcome each other through food? Food and faith, faith and food, may we practice reverence not just for human life or other life in the service of our life, but for the earth itself. May it be so. Now I would like you to consider rising in body or spirit to join us in one of my favorite songs, and it's a song that was in the last version of Little Women because Louisa May Alcott was a Unitarian. It's For the Beauty of the Earth, number 21 in our Bringers.
Feel free to raise the roof.
Over and around us.
please join me extinguishing our chalice. You will find the words in our order of service. We
extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please be our guest today after the service for a monthly potluck here in the sanctuary. This is an opportunity to chat with the people about the service or just how their week went. All are welcome to join. If you are not signed up for our email list, please make sure to do so to receive updates about ways to connect. You can find information on signing up on our website, auf.org/subscribe. I invite anyone with a brief spoken announcement to come forward at this time.
This is Laura. Our auction is coming up, and I brought my computer because we still need volunteers to do all kinds of auction duties. And if you haven't yet signed up, you can sign up with me today. I brought a computer that you can type it in yourself. So come see me at Putnam.
Save the date. Save the date. I notice you're taking your phones out. Save the date. December 3rd is our program Raise the Roof. We will have drummers. We will have Cardi D and the AUU crew singing from Hamilton and other tunes.
Don't let me, I'm just playing.
So hopefully you'll do that. Bring your shakers, your instruments. Amy Kaiser is going to give us a lovely children's story. And I think that's it. But do please come. It should be fun. I'm thinking about Christmas cookies and stuff like that. So maybe that will honor that day. But it's all about music, movement, and yoga and breath. And finally today, you'll see the drummers coming in at noon. So if you want to join us, we have plenty of rooms for you. We're practicing for Raise the Roof Thursday. Hey, Amy Phillips, one of our leaders, and Connor Rockford will be here. And then Tuesdays, finally, we're ending up our yoga with 5:30s here in the sanctuary. Thanks, guys. And I won't see you for a while. I'm out for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
I wanted to remind everybody that we're still looking for donations for your time, your gifts, your treasures that you might have. So donations to the auction, the last day to donate is a week from Monday, so that's fastly approaching. So if you could take some time to donate. There is a form that was sent out to the listserv, but my husband Brandon, waving hand, with a waving hand. We brought our computer to date as well, so sign up to volunteer with Laura, and then if you need help filling out the form to donate to the auction, Brandon will have a computer available so we can get that done today.
How many do you have now? I mean, you have a total so far? How are we looking?
I don't.
Not off the top of our head.
Yeah.
We're still looking for more.
We always want more.
There's no total you're looking for.
Right.
No.
Just more?
Just more.
More is better.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Here I am again. So, but for the coffee hour / potluck, we have 2 canisters of the Mind, Body, and Soul, 1 of the decaf and 1 of the hot water. Now we are aware that there are 2 meetings going on after the potluck in the Bush Center. If and when you need some more of the Mind, Body, and Soul or the hot water, let us know. And also, you may be aware that First Universalist at Camp Hill is now meeting live every first and third Sundays. It started last week. So if you decide, we're still meeting third Sunday, they're still going to meet third Sunday next week. So if you want an alternative, just consider that. Nothing against y'all. Some of us are connected.
Not on the 3rd of December, no. Raise the roof.
So if you decide not to want to raise the roof, you might. But that's all right. There's nothing against you, but just. But just consider to raise the roof first.
All right.
Hi, everybody. I beg your pardon, this should have been announced about 30 minutes ago. Second Sunday, Giving of the Plate. The organization this month is Across Alabama, organization working on relief efforts up in Camp Hill. Sorry, it's tardy. Someone needs to have a word with the new social action chair. Anyway, I think that's it. All right, thanks.
Jan Newton. Two things. First of all, that in the program listing for the calendar, it says the CUPS meeting, which is the Covenant of UU Pagans study hour, that usually meets on the 3rd Friday in the Bush Center at 6:30, is no longer meeting. We still have a pagan study group, but we're meeting off-site at the Well-Read Coffee Shop at 6:30 on the 3rd Friday. So that will be this coming Friday at 6:30. Now, the other half is the auction food table person, and I still need lots of extra food being brought in for savory, salty, sweet, delectable goodies that we can feed our hungry auction bidders and partakers. So please see me or give me an email, let me know what you're going to be bringing. And we will be delivering the food at 5 p.m. on Friday, December 1st, and right here in the kitchen. And then the auction, silent auction starts at 6, and the live auction starts at 7. And we need lots of food to celebrate with. Thank you.
Do you prefer finger food?
Yes, finger food is best. Right. Thank you for saying that.
No utensils.
Yeah, no utensils.
Thank you for the announcement. Please join in our song benediction.
Some closing words from Rabbi and poet Martha Keller. Let us acknowledge the source of life, the source of nourishment. May we protect the bountiful earth that it may continue to sustain us, and let us seek sustenance for all who dwell in the world.
Oh.